Are the 49ers going to sign Kirk Cousins in 2024 NFL free agency? We're talking about that. We also have a Nick Bosa contract extension update, so stay tuned. But first, be sure to subscribe to the channel for year-round and daily coverage of the San Francisco 49ers, approaching 82,000 subs. So lock us in and let's ride. Is Kirk Cousins on his way to the Bay Area? Not for this season, of course, but in 2024. You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and Kirk Cousins not expected to have his contract talks renewed or get a contract extension heading into the 2023 season. And what that means is Kirk Cousins would become a free agent, one of the most sought-after quarterbacks on the open market during 2024 NFL free agency. And we've documented this many times here on the program that Kyle Shanahan and Kirk Cousins are very, very close. And when Kyle Shanahan evaluates the quarterback position, a lot of Kirk Cousins and the elements to his game do translate to what Shanahan views as a successful quarterback in this league. And the level of familiarity goes back many years between those two because Shanahan was Cousins' offensive coordinator when Kyle Shanahan was working with the Washington Redskins, and Kirk Cousins got the start to his career there when he was on that team with RG3. Then Kirk Cousins ended up parlaying that into a monster contract, and since then has made a bunch of dough in the NFL with Washington, with Minnesota. What is his next team going to be? Certainly going to be fascinating to find out, but there's a lot of buzz right now that maybe the Niners could be interested in him if Trey Lance doesn't work out and Brock Purdy doesn't work out, because Kirk, his future in Minnesota, it's uncertain. We've already seen them let go of so many veterans throughout this offseason. Could they decide to rebuild even further after 2023? Kirk entering the final year of his contract, as we said, and Shanahan was the offensive coordinator and worked alongside Cousins in our nation's capital and the rumor mill. Shanahan, as we've talked about here on the program, did try to acquire Cousins previously at least a time, maybe even two, while he was the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. So if Kirk is rocking a Niners uniform next year, what would your one-word reaction be? I have a lot of thoughts on it, so let's dive in and let's waste no time. Kirk Cousins is a Kyle Shanahan type of quarterback. He gets the ball out on time. He's very accurate. The numbers certainly back that up. He's a very good decision maker and rarely makes mistakes, at least in regular season games. In the playoffs, that's a completely different story. He doesn't really try to do too much outside of the system. He runs the system very efficiently, and he's had very good production over his entire career, ever since he's been thrust into a starting role. You look at what he's done specifically over the last 4 years, he's basically guaranteed to have more than 4,000 passing yards every single season and hover around 30 touchdowns. And going back to that point about him being a good decision maker, 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions this past year, but in 2021, 33-7 touchdown to interception ratio. The year before that, 35-13, and in 2019, 26 tutties and 6 picks, and the completion percentage always very solid as well. My issue with Kirk Cousins, though, he's a good regular season quarterback, but when it comes time to play in prime time in the regular season, in that late afternoon window or in the playoffs, that's when he falls apart. That's when he starts to crater, and that's when he doesn't play good football. His playoff numbers are very alarming. The quarterback rating goes down all the way to 93.7. In those 5 playoff games, he's mustered just 1 victory. He's thrown 5 touchdowns and 1 pick, but the problem here, in 5 games, that production that he has in the regular season doesn't translate to the playoffs because 5 touchdowns in those 5 games is a massive problem. And, of course, the consistent losses. So if Kirk were to come to San Francisco with a team that's ready to win the Super Bowl, they might be a premier team in the regular season. But I have zero confidence that Cousins can lift you to a Super Bowl championship. So you tell me, should the 49ers pursue Kirk Cousins if he becomes a free agent in 2024. I want to hear from you down in the comment section right now. Just give me a simple S for sign or a P for pass. We'll get to Nick Bosa on the other side of this, but first a word from our sponsor. Today's San Francisco 49ers report, it is sponsored by NordVPN. You can protect your digital world right now and get 63% off NordVPN's 2-year plan. NordVPN is striving to make the internet better than it is today, and it can be free from online threats, censorship, as well as surveillance. Get your online security package now by visiting nordvpn.com/49erscs. That's nordvpn.com/49erscs. You get 4 months for free if you use that link, which is at the bottom of your screen right now. And by using that link in the description and comments when you purchase the NordVPN 2-year plan, it will really change your experience on the internet and your information will be safer. So let me tell you about all of the features you're going to get with a NordVPN package. And there's a lot certainly that NordVPN can offer. The benefits here: online protection with a single click. Don't miss your favorite content. You can stay safe from malware, which has become an increasing problem over the last several years, and it's the fastest VPN on the entire planet. So we're going to put this link down in the comment section and in the description of this video. This is an example of how it works. You can hide your IP securely at nordvpn.com/49erscs. That link is hanging out for the Niner Gang in the comment section and in the description of this video. Let's round out the show with this. Let's get to the latest on the Nick Bosa contract extension talks. He is set to become, in my opinion, the highest paid defensive player in the history of football. Now, that could change a couple of years down the road as the salary cap does figure to increase and change in the National Football League, but there's no doubt that considering the impact player that he is, the changes that he forces the offense to make, the game planning that the offense must undergo to account for him on the field, and just how dominant he is, on top of the level of production, he's going to get the bag. ESPN with an update on the Bosa contract extension talks from Nick Wagner. Does a good job of covering San Francisco. The operative word for the Niners and Bosa is patience. San Francisco wants to keep him on a deal that will likely make him the highest paid defender in the league, besting Aaron Donald's $31.5 million 3-year average, and Bosa wants to stay in the Bay Area for the long haul. He showed up to mandatory minicamp in June, expressed confidence he would get a deal done just before or right after training camp starts in late July, and such mega contracts can take some time to come together, which is why Bosa probably will follow in the footsteps of teammates George Kittle, Fred Warner, and Deebo Samuel, all of whom got their deals on a similar timeline to what Bosa is expecting. And there's no need for Niner fans to panic out there because all of those contracts happen at about that same window when training camp is about to go down or it just gets underway in Santa Clara at the SAP Performance Center. That's kind of the timeline of when San Francisco likes to do business with these contract extension talks for players who are in-house. I think it's only a matter of time before Nick Bosa secures the bag and becomes the highest paid defensive player in the NFL, overtaking Aaron Donald's average annual value of $31.5 million. When Aaron Donald got that deal, he was still at the peak of his powers, but he was a lot older than Nick Bosa. Bosa is still in the heart of his prime. You can make the argument he's just entering it, and his production over the last 2 years has been astounding. In 2021 and in 2022, he has combined for 15.5 sacks and 18.5 sacks. He's one of the premier edge rushers in the sport at getting after the quarterback in what has become a pass-heavy league. He can consistently take on double teams but still beat opposing offensive linemen, wreak havoc, and take over ball games by his lonesome. And Bosa is a player who is a little bit underrated when it comes to defending the run as well. And this is all backed up by his Pro Football Focus numbers in 2022, where he was one of the highest graded players in the entire NFL. An overall grade of 90.9, a run defense grade of 81.1, a pass rush grade of 90.9, and this is really wild here. 508 pass rush snaps, 41 hurries, 30 quarterback hits, 90 total pressures in those 508 pass rush snaps. That's crazy because what offenses do right now is they try to get the ball out quickly to counter what defenses are doing, yet Bosa's still able to tally those 90 total pressures with 39 stops as well. I'm going to continue to remain firm on my Nick Bosa contract projection. This is what I think that he's going to get from San Francisco. It's going to be more years than Aaron Donald. It's going to be more total money than Aaron Donald. He's going to overtake Donald in average annual value, and the guaranteed money I think is going to be more as well at 120 just because the years of the contract are going to be lengthier. So my Nick Bosa contract projection here in total, a 5-year deal worth $160 total million. He'd make $32 million per year, and the guaranteed money at signing would be very rich at $120 million. I understand that when you look at that on the screen and when you think about those numbers, it is a lot, right? But Nick Bosa is worth it because when it comes down to your roster construction, you, of course, want to get yourself a franchise quarterback. You want to be able to protect that quarterback, but you also have to get pressure on the opposing quarterback. Those are all pillars to a football team, in my opinion, to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender, and Nick Bosa plays one of the preeminent and most important positions on the entire football field. So I gave you what I think Bosa is going to get per year. Now it's your opportunity for you to take a guess down in the comment section right now. How much money will Bosa get per season? Just give me a dollar figure down below. And if you want to interact with me on Twitter and Instagram, you can find me on both platforms with the same handle on Twitter and Insta at Chase_Senior. Love interacting with the Niner gang. And if you want to slide in the DMs, please don't be a stranger. Say what's up. You have a question for me. That's all good as well. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. We're going to continue to pump out daily, year-round coverage of the Niners. This might be the slowest portion of the NFL calendar. Our coverage doesn't stop here on the show. Subscribe, turn on those noties, click that bell, and thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring today's show.